With so many picture books, how do you know which one is the right one? The research today through the science of reading is showing us that as teachers, we need to be choosing complex text to really allow our students to dive deeper into the text and be able to think critically about what they're reading. But how do we do that through picture books? So today we're going to dive into 8 different aspects that you need to be thinking about when choosing the picture books for your students. So before we dive in today, make sure to click that subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything new from the Sierra Harris Teaching Channel. We've got some amazing new videos coming up and you're not going to want to miss them. So, picture books. They're fantastic for so many different reasons. And that's a whole nother video. But today, we're really going to focus in on how to choose picture books that are complex enough that you can use them when teaching reading skills and reading strategies. That way you know they're going to support the type of thinking you want and need your students to do to be successful with your standards and with the objective or task that you have at hand. So I'm going to show you 8 different lenses or 8 different ways that you can analyze a picture book to ensure that it's right for you, your students, and what you need them to do with it. So let's jump in to number 1. The first thing you want to look at is multiple layers of meaning. So what do I mean by this? So complex picture books, if it's truly complex, they will typically have multiple layers of meaning that can be explored. So lots of different levels, lots of different bases, I guess you could call them, of understanding. And that encourages your students to dive deeper into the text and into the illustrations. So if there's nothing deeper, if you can't really break anything down and go deeper with it and find another meaning, then there's probably not much there to really use when you're asking them to do skills and strategies. So that's like my number 1. Like, can I take this literal, this information, this basic surface layer text from the author, and does it have a deeper layer? Does it have a deeper meaning? So when you think and are analyzing your picture books, think first of that multiple layers of meaning. It's going to be very helpful for finding the right picture books for your students. All right. Number 2 is a given rich vocabulary. So when you're looking through your books, and I absolutely love this one. It's called Dolores Thesaurus. If you don't have it, go grab it. But that's another thing to look through is this book going to really enhance my students' vocabulary? And vocabulary in the book itself is going to be a very key indicator or whether or not the book is complex. If you know your students are going to know every single word, then it's probably not going to be a complex enough picture book for you to really get that deeper thinking out of your kids that you know you probably want. So look for those books that have diverse, rich vocabulary that really challenges your students' language skills. Exposing them to new words, especially through picture books, can really expand those language abilities and their understanding of the story itself. Number 3 is going to be varied perspectives. This is a good one, and this one is great when you're really wanting to get an open-ended conversation of lots of different takeaways, lots of different conclusions that can be drawn, lots of different opinions that can be drawn. So find books that have varied perspectives. So look for characters that bring those perspectives, or even settings can bring those perspectives as well. This can spark discussions about different cultures, experiences, and even different viewpoints on specific topics. Number 4 is symbolism and metaphors. Of course, figurative language had to be in on this list because it is a fantastic way to kind of bring out those layers that we talked about in number 1. So books that incorporate things like symbolism and metaphors, they really encourage your students to think beyond that literal level, to go past it, and to find those deeper meanings that are really embedded in the text and in the illustrations. So looking for those examples specifically are going to be a key indicator to help you know as the teacher, this is going to be a good fit picture book for this objective or for this standard. I kind of combined two into one just to make it a little easier, but looking for picture books that have complex characters and themes. I feel like this is probably the most obvious on the list and things that I know all teachers really probably look for when they're looking for complex picture books. But looking for picture books that have those characters that have those multiple layers and have different kinds of emotions throughout the story and have lots of different motives and who have lots of change throughout the story from the beginning until the end. And the same thing with the underlying theme. That again kind of relates back to number one that we mentioned, looking for those multiple perspectives and multiple layers of understanding. So is there a key takeaway? Is there a moral or a lesson or something we can apply outside of the book itself? I think one of the best ways to know if a book is complex is how can it be adapted and applied to our students' lives? Can they make this picture book bigger than the book itself? Can it change the way they think about the world around them, their own world, the world, in their immediate world, like their family and friends and school, and then the world even beyond their four doors or four walls of the world around them? So how can this simple picture book, how can it change their thinking about those different things? So that there is where you're really going to get into the themes and the characters. So this is another one that I love, So Tall Within. This one is by Gary D. Schmidt, and it is about Sojourner Truth's Long Walk to Freedom. This is a great one to really focus in on those characters and themes that you're going to want to look for when finding those complex picture books. The next is going to be Open-Ended Questions. So this is one where it kind of adds a little bit more thinking to us, the teacher, when we're looking for a picture book that is going to or needs to be complex, again, to support that deep critical thinking. We're looking for books that are going to allow us to ask open-ended questions. So if a book really doesn't lend itself to asking those types of questions, then automatically it's clearly a no for whether or not this book is or is not complex. So can you ask open-ended questions based on the content of that book? All right, number 7, illustrations as text. This is big, especially because we're still wanting to focus on picture books. And I should have said this probably at the beginning of the video, but picture books can be used in every single grade level, even all the way up into high school. So looking for illustrations as text is a great way to really help that complexity. What is the illustrator telling us that the author did not? Is it important? And if it's important, how important and what level of importance does it have? So looking for picture books that not only have complex text, as in the words, but the illustrations as well. And our final piece that I want you to think about when choosing and trying to pick a complex picture book is looking for those cultural relevances. So select books that really resonate with your students' cultural backgrounds and experiences. So this creates lots of meaningful connections between obviously the book and your students, but then it also can promote deeper engagement. And those type of books, even if they only connect with one of your students' backgrounds, one, you're going to make that student feel very, very seen. And two, I'm going to say probably 3 things. 2, it's going to give your other students a great insight into their culture. And 3, it's going to automatically lend itself to a lot of open-ended questions, a lot of multiple layers, probably some themes and things like that as well. So there's great importance and relevance to picking books that have that cultural relevance to them as well. So just throw a lot at you, but hopefully the next time you are at Barnes & Noble or you're scouring Amazon for what picture books, or even at a garage sale, because that's where I love to get a lot of my picture books. You can see them all organized nicely next to me. But when you're going through and flipping through and trying to figure out, you can easily think through some of the layers and the the components that I just mentioned and see, can you identify some of these just through a quick scan? So just to quickly recap, when you are identifying complex picture books, 8 different areas. Number 1, multiple layers of meaning. Number 2 is that rich vocabulary, which I know you already knew. Number 3 are those varied perspectives. Number 4, look for that symbolism and those metaphors, figurative language. Number 5 is the complex characters and themes. Number 6 were the open-ended questions. Do you have the ability to even ask them? Number 7 were illustrations as text. And finally, number 8 was that cultural relevance. So the next time you go shopping, keep this video handy, maybe jot these things down, and that way you are able to find just the right picture book that is really going to help support your students' thinking, make them think deeper, make them think harder, analyze, evaluate, critique, all of those fancy Bloom words that we know we want them to do. We have to give them a text that supports that type of thinking. And that can also be done, or that can be done in picture books. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below in the comments. I'd be happy to help. And as you can see, I have all of my picture books all organized by skill, strategy, and holiday. So if you are ever needing a book for a specific skill or standard, please feel free to drop me a comment on any of my videos. I'm happy to give you some suggestions. Also over on my blog, which I always have linked below, if you just go to the search bar there and type in mentor texts or picture books, you're going to find so many blog post articles already written for you that have tons of ideas and things that you can be, of books that you can go and grab that support different skills and standards. So I'm here to help in any way that I can. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, a share, a comment. I really appreciate you being here. And of course, don't forget to hit that share button if you haven't already, or sorry, subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you don't miss anything new, and we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.